and welcome to Season 2, Episode 17 of the Big at the Back podcast. And as you can see if you're watching this right now, and you will be able to hear this shortly, it's a slightly different setup this week. Tom is away on a honeymoon, actually ended up leaving earlier than expected to make sure that he could get there on Monday, so we didn't have time to record between the end of the last game week and him leaving for his honeymoon. So Tom, I assume you will listen to this at some point on your honeymoon because you've got nothing better to do, but I hope you're having a nice time, and I would say it would be good to see you when you get back, but that would be an absolute lie. So it's just me riding solo this week, in a little bit of just an update. Obviously there's no point in me just talking myself about all the fixtures and going through all that. It would just be a waste of everyone's time, and it would be the most boring thing you could do heading into the next game week, which actually starts tomorrow morning as I'm recording this. So I'm just going to go through a bit of an update with my team, with Tom's team, with the league, and what's to come as well, because this is the last weekend of fixtures before the World Cup starts next weekend, which is crazy to say. It is so close now. I'm actually starting to get a little bit excited about it, but that's more to come on that next week. So I'm just going to start with my team for this week. So, not going to lie, this isn't going to come across brilliantly if you're listening to this on Spotify, because I am currently going through FPL on my screen here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that is definitely where you're going to get the best experience, but I will be talking through it. So any podcast listeners, you should be able to keep up. So my team for game week 15, another disappointing show for me, more red arrows. Finished the week on 48 points. Could have been better, could have been worse, I think, considering how things did go. Pope in goal with just those 3 points. Newcastle once again throwing away a clean sheet. A back four in the end with automatic subs of Mitchell with 2 points. Trippier banking that clean sheet after coming off. So and picking up 3 bonus points with 12, once again proving he's an absolute goldmine in FPL this season. Davis, who actually came on as my first sub for Mitrovic, picking up 1 point, and everyone's villain from last game week, João Cancelo with -2, giving away the penalty, picking up a red card, and just all-round disappointment for last week from him. The midfield four, again, a tale of more disappointment for myself. Only one man picking up any slack there, and that was Miguel Almiron picking up 8 points. The man is on fire at the moment. You love to see it. And then the other three in my midfield picking up 1, 2 and 3 points apiece were Foden, Rashford and Martinelli. Foden, having started every Premier League game before I transferred him into my team, continues his streak of not starting a single game since I brought him in. And then a front two for me last week of Haaland and Kane. Haaland was captained, obviously came on fairly late on in that game to pick up a goal, the second time of asking after his first one was disallowed for offside, just about rightly so. And Harry Kane also chipping in with 8 points, a goal for him as well. The disappointment for me being, as you can see if you're watching this now, the points on the bench. Ward keeping a clean sheet would have been an improvement over Pope, and then Andreas Pereira as well sitting on the bench with 6 points after scoring that penalty that Cancelo conceded against Fulham on Saturday afternoon. So, how did Tom's team get on for the week? It was a slightly better story for Tom, having been bang average for the week with 53 points, but still red arrows for Tom as well. Similar story to me with Pope in goal, Mitchell in there, Trippier and Cancelo, so 4 of the same defensive players there. Tilo Kehrer picking up 1 point for him, and Johnny with a big fat 0, having come off the bench and blocking Bailey coming on, who was his second sub. A midfield 3 for him, with Bernardo with 1 point, Martinelli with 3, and then Mo Salah picking up the points against Spurs with 2 goals, picking up 15 points. And then the same front two as myself, so Haaland and Kane, and Haaland captain for him as well. And if you thought my bench was bad, Tom goes one step better with Ward, Bailey and Pereira. So all of those getting returns. Unai Emery hitting the ground running with that Villa side as they put Man United to the sword. So what does that mean for the big at the back league? So if I do a quick update, it's been a while since we've looked at the table, and we can see that Jimmy Verrier sits top of the league as things stand after a very impressive week of 76 points and into the top 10k overall. Josh Bell is second and Frank Sales rounding out that top three. Tom currently sitting in 6th, I am currently sitting in 14th, and our joint team, not bottom anymore, but not far off, currently on 21 points. In first place, sorry, and it was a poor week for us as well with the joint team. 48, the same as my team, really being put to the sword by having those 2 Liverpool defensive assets in there still, which needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Disappointment for us having Wilson, and again points on the bench with Andreas Pereira and Luca Paqueta. So my team for the upcoming week. We'll just have a quick look at that as well. I have made 2 transfers. So I've taken a 4-point hit. I feel like I'm sort of chasing points at the moment. So I'm taking hits left, right and centre. So I've gone with Ward over Pope in goal this week. Leicester's defence has got a lot better recently. So I feel as though, and the only team that scored against them in their last 5 league games has been Man City. And that was thanks to a wonder goal from Kevin De Bruyne. So I've gone with them, and you know, as a West Ham fan, it only makes sense that I play players that are playing against West Ham with the form that we're in at the moment. The back three of Tyrick Mitchell, Kieran Trippier and João Cancelo, who's back after serving his suspension in midweek in the Carabao Cup. Midfield 5 of Gabriel Martinelli, Marcus Rashford, Phil Foden, who won't start again I'm sure, Miguel Almiron and Mo Salah. And then a front 2 of Erling Haaland and Dominic Solanke. Really my thinking here, and the 2 transfers I've made are Salah is in for Andreas Pereira and Dominic Solanke is in for Harry Kane. May sound a little bit crazy. I mean, Salah's got a very good record against Southampton. I think he scored in 8 out of his 9 games or something like that against Southampton. So he's obviously got a very good record. He's not going to the World Cup. My worry for this week, and whether we see this play out or not over the next couple of days, is that players going to the World Cup may just take their foot off the pedal a little bit. They're going to be worried about injuries, because one injury now, that can be your tournament over. So that's why I've taken Kane out, and why I've brought Mo Salah in. I think he is the better option out of the 2 going into this weekend. My bench currently sits with Nick Pope, Davis and Veltman on the bench. Mitrovic has now been red flagged, so he is missing Fulham's visit of Manchester United to the Cottage, which is a big disappointment, because I feel like he could have been picking up some points there against the Man United defence that has been not at its best. And again, with loads of players going to the World Cup, we'll see how they line up there. As for Tom's team, I can't check it at the moment, because he is out in the bush, so he hasn't out in the Masai Mara. So with his lack of Wi-Fi, he did send me a bus team that he'd set earlier in the week, which was Ward in goal, a back 3 of Trippier, Cancelo and Luke Shaw, a midfield 5 of Leon Bailey, Andreas Pereira, Gabriel Martinelli, Mo Salah and Bernardo Silva, and then a front 2 of Haaland and Kane. So that may change by the time that the game week actually starts tomorrow morning. So one last thing I want to mention, obviously, as everyone knows, and as I mentioned, we are now just 9 days away from the beginning of the World Cup. The World Cup Fantasy Football has gone live, so I will be setting up a Big at the Back league for anyone that wants to come and join us. I'll get that tweeted out as well. So as many as it'd be great to have as many people as we can get joining that league. It'd be a good laugh. Obviously, a slightly different setup with the way things work for the World Cup. It is still $100 million, I think it actually is, for a 15-man squad. So that much is the same, but obviously with games playing on different days and transfers working different ways, it's a slightly different feel to fantasy football, which I think is a very welcome change. It allows you to bring players in after games, so each day you can move players in and out. It's a very nice, refreshing way to do things, and more in line with the sort of American fantasy sports, which I do play quite a bit of as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that works, how we both get on. I can't do any worse than I'm doing in FPL this season, so maybe it's a nice change of pace. I'm looking forward to the break from FPL. I was just going to go over a couple of the fixtures for this weekend that particularly take my eye. Obviously, Liverpool South, the early kickoff being Man City and Brentford. That is going to look like a very interesting game. Haaland hopefully back in starting. He's obviously one that's not going to the World Cup. Brentford have the worst away record in the league as well, having not won a single away game yet. So that could be a potential drubbing. And if Haaland does start, you'd be looking at him to be adding to his goal tally for the season. If he could hit the 20 goal mark before the World Cup. He's currently on 18 league goals, so that is something to look out for. Bournemouth-Everton rematch from the Carabao Cup earlier this week, where Bournemouth pasted Everton 4-1. After Everton's recent resurgence in the league, it was a bit of a disappointment for them, but hopefully for their sake they can turn things around. And obviously for me, hopefully Dom Solanke bags a hat-trick after the amount I've said that he is absolutely rubbish on this podcast so far this season. Liverpool, like I say, host Southampton. First game in charge for the former Luton boss, Neil Jones, as he travels to Anfield in his first game, which is a daunting task at the best of times. Liverpool, obviously, we know, haven't been in the greatest of form. A good win last weekend for them over Spurs, so that will be an interesting one to watch to see how they set up in the first game under a new manager. Obviously, a lot of people will be hoping that Mo Salah bags another couple of goals as he's starting to find a bit of form again. Forest Palace, not worth mentioning that one really, is it? Spurs Leeds, another interesting game. Kulusevski looks like he's going to come back into the starting 11. A lot of people will be happy to see him after the great FPL asset he was last season. It'll be interesting to see if, obviously in the absence of Son with his fractured cheek, although he is going to the World Cup, so we'll see. But I highly doubt we'll see him in action tomorrow. West Ham Leicester, the less said about that, the better. I don't want to touch that game. I'm fed up of talking about West Ham at the moment. Probably the most interesting game of the weekend for me is Newcastle Chelsea at 5:30 on Saturday. Me and Tom have obviously both spoken so much about how impressed we've been by Newcastle this season. This feels like a real litmus test for them. Chelsea haven't been the greatest in the last couple of weeks. Obviously lost to Arsenal. They sort of started to find their feet under Potter, and now it seems like they've regressed a little bit. If Newcastle can win this game, this is then well and truly staking their claim for top 4 and Champions League football next season. Arsenal go to Wolves Saturday night at 7:45. A nice trip to Molineux. They look to go into the winter break. I say the winter break, the World Cup break, top of the league. If they do win this game, they will obviously finish this part of the season top, and they will be top at Christmas. But the last 5 times Arsenal have been top of the league at Christmas, they've failed to win the league. So that's a little one to watch out for there. And then Sunday, the last 2 games before we head into the World Cup. Brighton host Villa and Fulham host Manchester United. A couple of interesting games there. Obviously, Villa got off to a flying start with under Unai Emery last week, beating Manchester United 4-1. And obviously, Man U will be looking to bounce back this Sunday as they travel down to London to Craven Cottage to take on a Fulham team that that impressed against Man City. Obviously, playing against 10 men for most of the game did them a lot of favours. But if they can play as well as they did in that game, they'll be looking to come away with something from that game. Man United don't look the best at the moment, but obviously they have still got a wealth of talent in that side. So that's all from me this week. It was, like I say, it was just a quick update to get something out there for you guys. Tom won't be back, obviously, after next week. He gets back. He flies home Sunday week, the day of the opening World Cup game, and he lands Monday morning, just in time to head to the pub to watch England v Iran on that Monday lunchtime. So, Tom, I will see you soon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your honeymoon. And that's all from me, guys. Take care. Good luck for this game week, and I will see you all soon.